So her cousin in London actually confirmed?
No, he confirmed that she was missing, and that Benedetta's father had flown over from Italy and was in London. We made arrangements to meet in the morning. I was at home with my family by now. I'd come home from work, and all of us were absolutely devastated. We didn't know what to do. We're in the house Benedetta used to live with us in, and I think I probably slept about 15 minutes that night. I couldn't sleep. I was just going through a really strange period of trying to close my eyes, but couldn't sleep.
So this is nearly now 3 years that 7/7 has happened. How have you dealt emotionally? How have you dealt with the trauma of this?
It comes in really strange waves. There's times where there's disbelief, then starting to feel you're coping. Well, I should say I'm coping, helping those around me who are similarly absolutely traumatized, and then I start feeling better, and all of a sudden I'll wake up in the morning. I'm talking about when it's recently happened, and I had a strange drowning sensation. It was almost like I'm being given the news again, and it would take me a long time to get out of that shock period again. It was just waiting for the phone to ring from Benedetta, waiting for an email, never came, and still hasn't. It was just such a it can't be explained unless, without experiencing that sudden loss. It's just too sudden, it's just too quick, it's unexplainable, it's horrific.
I can recall that day, 7/7, quite well, because I was actually broadcasting at the time, and I remember there were problems on the trains, and I was talking about these problems at Liverpool Street and etc. Unbeknown to myself, what had actually happened, because it wasn't made public knowledge for some time, because I don't even think the authorities knew what was going on at the time. And to hear that here in the centre of London there'd been, a terrorist attack, a bombing on a train, a public train. How, this whole thing about, terrorism and us being more vigilant and just terrorism in general, how do you feel about living here in London with the threat of terrorism looming over your head?
I think it's a very real threat. The authorities are obviously there. They can do so much. There's a lot the public can do as well, obviously. People hear things, see things, they can report things. They might have been noticing something suspicious. I think people just need to start to realise that it's not someone else's problem, it's everyone's problem, and everyone needs to take responsibility.
Because I remember you did say earlier on that you never thought that this was going to happen to you. You always hear about it on the news or see it on TV, and you think, well, it's never going to affect you, it's never going to happen to you. But for you, it was very real. Do you feel maybe that the public perception of the threat of terrorism, do you think that people, the public at large, take it very seriously?
I would actually say it depends on who you speak to, but my own personal opinion is that we have definitely got more clued up to things. We do take things more seriously, but there are a lot of things people don't take seriously, like maybe even just leaving your baggage unattended at a busy rail station, for example, and walking off. The havoc that can cause just demonstrates some people aren't taking it seriously, or people making silly jokes. Look, I've got a bomb, or something like that. How are people supposed to know you're not joking? There's just people not appreciating actually the gravity of what they're saying and what they're doing. But I'd say by and large, most members of the public, they are taking things seriously. But there's a lot more we can do.
Okay, a lot more. Like what? What do you reckon?
I would say taking personal responsibility and doing the best you can, so at a later date you don't say to yourself, oh, I always thought I should have reported that. Oh, I knew something was wrong there. You know, we always talked about that person was a bit odd. He was doing odd things. He was mixing with odd people. Well, if you already thought that, why haven't you done anything about it?
Yeah, because there is this thing that, you know, people do seem to lack taking personal responsibility. A lot of people maybe don't want to, or can't be bothered to, or think it's someone else's job to, or they'll take care of it, or they'll sort it out.
Exactly, it's someone else's problem.
Yeah, that apathy there, that people think it's always, it's not nothing to do with me, or, you know, someone else will do it.
Exactly. Why shall I get involved? You know, someone else saw it, someone else bought it. Yeah.
So it's really about taking personal responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they might be thinking the same thing. Oh, that person saw it, they'll report it. And they're talking about you. You're both looking at each other and no one's done anything about anything.
So it's been 3 years now for you since you lost Benedetta. That's major, major trauma. Raj, how have you dealt with this trauma?
My initial way of dealing, I started going through my old emails from Benedetta, and that I've also sent her. Over all the years, I think I've probably kept about 95% of them, even silly ones, just saying good morning. Yeah, I was reading through them. They did start becoming very painful. I saw one which particularly caught my eye. The subject heading was, "This one always makes me think of you," and she attached a song of Chicago, written by Chicago, called "If You Leave Me Now." It's a song that we both shared. It was personal to us. And my first step in recovery, which was probably only a day or two after finding out she was killed, I started writing my own version of that song, the lyrics, and it's called "Benny, If You Leave Me Now." I had that song sung by a singer on a cruise ship and mixed, all put together with the backing track. And then I made a website for Benedetta, as well as my workplace were very good and they got me counselling very early on, which did help. However, as I said before, the grief does come in waves. I might be thinking I'm getting on well for maybe a month or two, and all of a sudden I just went down into a really, really despair patch. I found things like gaining weight very easy. I put on probably about 2.5 stone following the death of Benedetta, just through depression. Not medically depressed, but I could feel I was depressed. I was just feeling down. But I've always been a strong person, and I picked myself up, being very positive and helping those around me. I lost all the weight I gained, and a few months ago I started to make a documentary.
So that's helped you to turn your focus, I presume, to doing something very positive, and especially as it's dedicated to Benedetta. I suppose that is a way, that's probably therapy in itself.
Yes, I found it's not only been therapy for me, but the real reason I started this was like a tribute to Benedetta. But as it grew, it started affecting people within the community of 7/7, people who've suffered as a result. When they've heard about the project, they've really been touched, and it's got people interacting together from that community through this project. Now that it's grown into something so much more, which I would like to talk about more later on. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's even made people outside the 7/7 community start to understand the effects of terrorism. People who've never had an inkling about it, they've been so moved, and they've helped us to create this project and this whole documentary.